Just last week, Andre Karpathy tweeted, "Every time I diversify, I lose money." Smith here with Bradford Ferguson at Rebellionaire.com. We're here talking today primarily to Nvidia employees, Nvidia-naires. We're not quite sure exactly what the correct term is. But
Nvidia and the Nares.
Nvidia-naires, do the double na. We did have a colleague who insisted on calling it Nvidia. But we've worked with Tesla employees who have done very, very well by holding a concentrated position. And they've talked to some financial advisors who've kind of laughed in their face when they see their portfolio. And so a lot of what we try to do here at Rebellionaire is saying like, hey, the rebellious approach, like the kind of bucking the traditional financial advice, which is to diversify. If you really deeply understand the stock and you know why you're holding it, having a concentrated position can be a way to generate really substantial wealth. That's worked well for Tesla employees, and that's worked very well for Nvidia employees as well. And we've been big believers in both companies for a long time.
This is not financial advice. Certainly, there's risk having a concentrated position, and a little bit about Matt and I is we are well known in the Tesla investing community, and we did buy Nvidia stock for our clients in 2021. And the reason we bought Nvidia was because we thought AI would become a majority piece of Nvidia's business, that not only would the hyperscalers get benefit from AI, but then large enterprise would be forced to adopt AI to lower their costs, but also increase value to the customers. And I've been tweeting about Nvidia for a while. In 2022 and in August, people were wondering why the stock was getting slammed. I knew it was because Nvidia's 3000 series or A100 series essentially got Osborne. The specs leaked for the 4000 series and for the H100s. And when this happened, gamers stopped buying the gaming chips. The crypto people stopped buying. You also had some other stuff going on with crypto. But also even the AI data center folks put a pause on their buying, and Nvidia had to pay out a huge payment to TSMC to get them to stop making the chips and to pay for supply that they didn't use. So we understand Nvidia. Another point in time where I stuck my neck out there on X and other places is in early 2023, when Nvidia's market cap exceeded Tesla for the first time. And I'm very well known in Tesla investing sphere. So for me to speak positively about Nvidia was something that was very risky for me reputation wise. But when it did pass Tesla, then I said, their earnings are coming up. Like, you don't look at the PE ratio, like that's backward looking. They got Osborne. What you instead look at is future profits, just like the Tesla investors did.
And that was such an unpopular opinion at the time, because I mean, like that was I would say the beginning of this kind of massive parabolic move that we've seen in the stock, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, look at this like trailing PE of 120 or whatever it was at the time." People were like, "It's obviously overvalued." But if you actually do the work, I mean, we were projecting revenue and earnings significantly higher than where the analysts were at that time. And so when we were looking at it on a forward PE basis, we're like, no, actually, like there's a lot more room for this to run. So it was a very contrarian view at the time. And of course, that's borne out to be a good call. But now everyone suddenly agrees that, like, oh yeah, the earnings prospects and the revenue growth prospects for Nvidia are like obviously like really strong. Everyone can Monday morning quarterback this and say, yeah, like I believe in AI. Of course, Nvidia is like a great investment. But we were actually out there in the front lines calling this. We got the receipts of our calls, and
we also had a video in November of 2023, and I came out saying that they would have 100 billion in revenue. We'll see on that, but also that they would have for this fiscal year, but but also that they would have 60 billion in earnings. And already in the first quarter, they had 15 billion in earnings after tax. So, going forward, they should easily exceed that this year on earnings. And this was before Wall Street. I think they were at 50 billion at the time. So I was 20% higher than where Wall Street was. So obviously, we're big believers in the impact that AI is going to have on the future, but also on NVIDIA's prospects within that AI future. But recently, we've heard news where people are just very skeptical about the revenue generation prospects of generative AI and where things are going to go. They're being very critical of the hyperscalers continuing to spend on generative AI and these NVIDIA AI data centers, and saying that this is a bubble that's going to end.
Yeah, this is something we've heard on the All In podcast and elsewhere. A lot of very vocal, very intelligent investors out there saying, "Hey, all these companies are investing, hundreds of billions of dollars on these chips. They need a return on that, otherwise the orders are going to dry up."
Mm-hmm.
In our view, I think it was Satya Nadella who was talking about you're going to get the timing of some of this stuff a little bit wrong, but the overall secular trend of more compute being needed, that's something that's we very much believe in. So could there be a pullback in orders and accordingly in the stock? Absolutely. But we think the long-term secular trend is going to be for Nvidia to be a big winner. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't things an individual investor shouldn't be doing to try to manage those peaks and valleys, and to potentially every individual investor's journey is a little bit unique. So whether you are just highly concentrated and you've got enough money right now where you just don't want to risk losing it, yeah, diversification probably makes sense. And we can talk about how that might look for an individual investor. But if you are a strong believer and you want to kind of buy and hold for a decade, we're, I would say, a very unconventional advisor in that that's not going to cause us to get extremely nervous and say, "Oh no, you're being reckless and risking everything." So we recognize the intelligence of our clients and respect their ability to assess their own risk, but we think that there's value we can provide along other areas of their financial journey. So maybe, Bradford, we can talk about why did you start Rebellionaire, and what are some of the things that we offer to our clients?
It's exactly for that reason you mentioned. We started with Tesla investors, and what we heard from them is that they would show their statements to a financial advisor, and these people had beaten Wall Street. They had 10x their money in Tesla, and the first thing these advisors would do was to laugh at them, which is just preposterous because they had beaten Wall Street. Like, they should be applauded and patted on the back, all that. And the next thing they said is like, well, in order for us to give you a financial plan or to give you advice, you're going to have to sell at least half of your Tesla, if not like 90% of it. So, we won't laugh at you or force you to sell Nvidia. We can offer strategies for Nvidia employees. If you have, stock options and stock, what to do about those and when. Also, we do want to take advantage of times to trim and add. So most bulls in a stock, when they're concentrated, they just hodl and they just add to the stock over time. They're never taking advantage of the emotional highs in the stock and trimming at those points. So, it's been said that if you ever trimmed an apple, that you lost by doing that, but I don't think that's 100% true. The other thing we can add is covered calls for income. So doing some covered calls to generate a higher dividend on the Nvidia stock. They do pay a very small dividend today, but you can earn a bigger dividend by doing some covered calls. And then the final thing is looking at how all your finances combine. So if you're a Nvidia or millionaire in Nvidia stock, it seems like your investments just overwhelm your whole financial picture, and that you don't really have to think about much. But there's tax consequences to think about. There's just your financial goals in the future, how you're going to fund them, what accounts you should be saving money in, how you should be taking out, what you should sell and when. And the end goal for most people is they want to retain as many shares as they can over time. So that's really what our goal is for Nvidia millionaires.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note. I mean, a lot of people can look at their statement, whether it's an IRA or a Roth or whatever the individual account is that they have, and say, all right, well, I'm doing really well because my account is, you've got the whatever your year-to-date number is or your 5-year performance number. So I'm doing really well because that number is like extremely green, and that's certainly true. But that doesn't mean that there aren't optimization changes that can be made along the way. I mean, one thing we've spent a considerable amount of time this year on, frankly, before the run up that we had in Tesla recently with a lot of our clients, was Roth conversions. So being able to convert some of your IRA holdings into Roth when the stock is at a relative low, let's say, or when sentiment is pretty low, to allow those shares to grow tax free in the future and kind of take that tax hit at a lower price. That's something that can make a lot of sense, but it's hard work to do, to figure out, okay, how much can I actually afford to do? What's the right amount of a conversion to do? How many years can I presumably do that for? And frankly, even like what time of the year, given where the stock is, does it make sense to do those sorts of things? These are complicated things that I think really are best suited to an advisor. So I think we provide a lot of value in areas like that as well. Bradford and I are very active on the investing side, but one of the things that I've been going through this myself is we offer financial planning. That's something that I think is extremely valuable, because if you've got a big pot of money, but you don't really know what you're going to spend it on, or like, let's say you're in your 40s or something, and you got a long way to go. Like, you buy a house now or a boat, or like whatever your dream is, or if you've got some giving goals, do you start doing that now? And what do you want to do with your life? So I think one of the things our planning team does a really great job of is trying to identify, okay, what are your goals and your wants? And let's try to orient your finances so that they can help serve your life goals, rather than, being a source of stress or just, kind of being unbounded to the rest of your life, just being an account that's growing and you're doing your thing with the rest of your life. We really want to make your finances working. We want your finances to be working for you, so that you can be free to kind of enjoy your life and have your wealth provide that flexibility and those options to you, so that you can do whatever it is that you're most passionate about.
Yep. So what Matt's talking about is custom financial planning that's based off of your first principles. So it's almost like your finances are their own custom chipset. And we look at, what adjustments can we make to that to make it even more optimal for you. So, you can operate most efficiently. Anyhow, I think that covers everything. Is there anything that you think we missed, Matt?
No, I don't think so. Other than, if you are interested in learning more about us, what we do, and are maybe interested in booking an introductory call, you can check us out on rebellionaire.com. There's a brief contact us form that you can fill out, see if it makes sense to have a conversation. So no commitment, just if you're interested in learning more, please feel free to do that. And we look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.